Hello guys, and welcome to a new Steel Division video today by me, Vulcan. Today I have for you a 3 versus 3 on Mont Ormel, and in this one I'm going to be playing with the 116th Panzer Division. So kind of continuing the trend of playing divisions that I'm not too keen of. And I guess the main reason for that is I just want to try and get my head around this division in particular. I think that it's very good for its Jagdpanzer play, and also kind of its late phase like tank gameplay in general. But also there's quite a lot of versatility when it comes to the artillery tab with the Panzerwerfers and the Flampanzers and all that kind of stuff, the elite infantry. It's quite an interesting mix up, this division, but I just don't tend to get on well with it. Either way, in this one, I thought I would give it a go again, mainly because I wanted to explore how well Jagdpanzers deal with Hellcats. And as you can see on the opposing side, we have two 4th Armoured Divisions. Hellcats, they have 13 AP and 4 armour. A Jagdpanzer has 12 AP and 14 armour. So there's a very good chance that they are like the perfect counter to Hellcats at maximum range at least. Now the benefit of Hellcats, however, is of course they are mobile and they're very fast, so they can close the range on a Jagdpanzer very quickly, and the Jagdpanzer doesn't have a turret, so you could potentially use that to your advantage. I didn't see much of that in this game, but we definitely do see the conflict between the Jagdpanzer IVs and the Hellcats. Now, one thing to note before we continue with this game, I was playing this live originally. I was planning to record it live, but the game actually took almost twice as long as it should have because of lag. So if there's any like questionable stuff happening, it's maybe because it was lagging so much in the original game. But in general, it gives you time to react to stuff more quickly. And in the replay, it looks like I'm an absolute god at micro, when in actual fact, I was just having a super laggy game. But either way, it is kind of annoying when you play on a laggy game, because it really puts you off, and it's very easy to like lose track of how units are engaging and all that kind of stuff. Like the engagement's very odd, the shells fire slower, so you don't know if you've hit something, and all that is very important information, especially when you're going for like tank trades and so on. So it can get really frustrating, but either way, as you can see, I've got a Flampanzer here, I've got a Panzer Grenadier, I've got a Panzer 3H, and I've got an AT gun. Dropping all these chaps off. Flampanzer's basically here to provide flames to the edge of this tree line, whilst the Panzergrens kind of wait here with the cover of the half track. Pack 38 just trying to get some cheeky shots. Not really getting the kills that I want though. Pack 38 also nearly gets a cheeky shot up onto the road, but that doesn't happen. It's going to be moving my half track to the right side to support the MG. I really wanted to get this MG into one of these buildings, but of course they will have occupied it. So just spread out, playing quite defensively at the start. I think the biggest mistake that I tend to play with the make with the 116th is that I play over aggressively, and it can definitely sting you because you have not the best units to reinforce. Like you don't have a decent amount of infantry availability, and it also costs a lot. So if you lose your mainline infantry, for example, then you're going to put yourself in a very, very bad spot. Now, I'm not entirely sure what happened here. I was really concerned. Noob basically put all of his troops into this forest and completely neglected the right side. Like, this was very silly. I put defense beacons on these because you should be in these buildings straight away. This should be absolutely #1 priority on this right side, and I assumed that he would cover that off, but he didn't. So for the rest of the game, we just had to deal with fighting across this open ground, when ideally we would have had these hedgerows to hold things back. And it really just handicapped us for the whole game. It was really, really frustrating. And just the lag didn't make it any better either. Either way, Pack 38 still missing shots. We've got the speed troop coming up to assist my Pack 38 there, and I'm trying to go for like a little push up this hill, but I was just wary of like AT guns basically. That was my main issue. And of course I do have like a 50 cal here and this half track. I do manage to get the cheeky shot onto that WC-52 with the Pack 38. And maybe now would have been the time to go up, but I was waiting for my speed troop to get into position so I could really see what was going on. Now on this left side, Captain Tank's doing okay. He's got his Pack 38 rolled up. He's starting to engage these half tracks. On the left side, his line's looking pretty thin, but he's using the combination of flak-filling IG-18 and Stosstroop to try and hold up there, which is okay for now. 258 coming up. This is going to help with pinning down infantry units. I wanted to help with getting rid of these cavalry scouts in the building, but I do discover this M18 Hellcat here, so this does make me very wary of using the Befehl Panzer III as well as all of these units to push up the hill, because it'd be very easy for me to use this Flampanzer, for example, to drive up, flame out that building and push them back, get my Panzergrens in there, kind of maybe take over the top here. But that Hellcat's kind of a bit of a problem. The Befehl Panzer IV, I don't really trust it on hitting the mark there. It definitely has enough AP to penetrate a Hellcat, but its initial accuracy on that gun is 4, which is really low. So the likelihood it would hit is not very good. Also just there I do catch the glimpse of the M4 Sherman coming up, which is obviously the Hero 1 Abrams, available in the 4th Armoured. So the Befehl Panzer III has no chance against that. So I'm forced to basically give one of my quite expensive Panzer Grenadier units over to the right side in order to help Noob hold off here, since he's basically given away, let's see, this much ground for free. Yeah, it wasn't great. And we're kind of compensating by pushing up onto this hill quite hard, which is why it's only at 50-50, but 108 points currently for the opponents. So Flampanzer moves up briefly, does flame out the house, forces the cavalry scouts out. I was trying to get the Panzer Grenadiers in there, but Abrams arrives just at the right time. I did manage to use 2 half-tracks here along with a speed troop to kill a rifles unit that was in this house, and that's going to allow me to move the MG42 in there and gain a little bit of ground. Just going to be a Panzerwerfering and a T-gun here, making sure I hit on mark with that. That's another thing that gets really badly affected by lag, the explosions from these rockets. So usually what you'd be able to do is fire off 5 shots. If within the first 5 shots you hit your mark, you can cancel the strike and fire elsewhere. But if the rockets are lagging and not blowing up straight away, then you don't know if you've hit the mark or not, and therefore you have to just let every salvo fire all 10 rockets. So rifles coming up, engaging my Panzer Grenadiers. I'm going to move around the Flampanzer to join them, just so that I can win out any engagement with the infantry, because that's the original reason that it was there. Doing a bit of tank juggling with this Abrams and my Panzer III. Just getting my Panzer III into position if the Abrams comes over here. Then I will shoot it at close range. Mortar manages to get 2-shot kill onto my Pack 38. I'm not sure what that was. M21, it was the mortar carrier. Yeah, managed to get a 2-shot kill onto my AT gun, which was annoying. I brought up another Flampanzer now, though, and that's just here to basically protect these tree lines against infantry. Alongside that, we'll be bringing up some other infantry, as you can just see, to accompany the Flampanzer and start to move through the forest. And then I can start to really do the damage. Now cavalry scouts do come through, manage to take out the Flampanzer. These cavalry scouts are really, really nice units. But with the help of the SDGev Z251, these Panzer Grenadiers can do quite a lot of damage to the cavalry scouts. We're just going to stop them from advancing into the trees for now so they don't get hit by enemy fire support. Yeah, not only have I had to sacrifice one of my Panzer Grenadiers to this right side, I've also had to sacrifice the Panzerwerfer, which is kind of annoying. But what I'm looking for now is a shot onto these mortars, kind of relieve the pressure for Noob over here. Ideally, he would have been pushing a little bit harder there. Anyway, rifles coming to line of sight of the Panzer Grenadiers once again. Going to get quite a lot of damage done there. Captain Tank's making some really nice ground here with the Stoss troop, which was great. Rifles try and come and take out the flak filling, but pinned down instantly by the Flam Panzer and just wrecked. Absolutely wrecked. These MG42s and the Flammenwerfer combo, it's just insane at destroying infantry. I mean, as you can probably imagine. Abrams getting very close here for an engagement with my Befehl Panzer III. The reason they're probably going to go for this is because of the mortar fire. So I did basically just decide to rearrange my tanks here. Unfortunately, Noob's HS-129 completely off the mark when it comes to taking out that Hellcat. So yeah, that was just rather annoying that the HS-129 didn't get that kill, otherwise that would have been really nice and helpful. And another Hellcat here now. Windy. Definitely applying the pressure. MG42. Doing a decent job in this building, but under the fire of multiple 50 cals. It's not going to do particularly well. I'm actually going to be forced to retreat them eventually. But as you can see, I am focused on the entire map at this point, using my Panzerwerfers to try and hit these mortars. And I was pretty close to taking them out, but didn't quite hit the mark how I wanted to. Definitely reduced their health, which is good, and stopped them from firing for a while. Ideally you want those kills though. Pack 38 going to take out M20 in the mid with the Pupschen here. I think the Pupschen actually claimed that kill. But I'm going to be forced to just leave all these tanks here for now. Obviously with the Hellcat sitting up here and the M4, I don't want to abandon this position. It's really good because it's like low down. And anything that wants to like engage these units has to come over the edge and fire down into this. So this provides a lot of pressure just by holding those tanks there. And even if they have the recon to do the mortaring, it's fine. They're tanks. So the Panzer Grenadiers have arrived here. Hellcat actually went down on the left side to one of Captain Tank's Stugs, which is nice. So just trying to get the Panzer Grenadier into a decent position to help start engaging with the armoured LMG rifles. And here we go. Flam Panzer are going to be driving on round these Panzer Grenadiers from Captain Tank, revealing these rifles and armoured LMG rifle locations. So I'm going to try and take advantage of that while I can. 50 cal does open up onto my 251-16, but not for too long, as I do manage to get out of line of sight. Flamethrower deleting the armoured LMG rifles. And I'm just going to go straight through to where I saw the mortar fire coming from here, because I can definitely take out these open top mortar carriers with the flames. And even if it doesn't kill them, at least we can make them surrender, as you can see happening there. The Panzer Grenadiers come and join the front line. Now we've just got to get rid of the infantry squad between myself and Captain Tank. And just across the board, helping the entire team. Mostly focusing on this area. I'm actually bringing up a Jagdpanzer, as you can see, along with some recon and an extra couple units of infantry. Tank does come away, so just make sure that the Flam Panzer does another runner. I would have liked to have been able to push through, but that was an M5A1 in the way. Comes right into the face of these Panzer Grenadiers and boom, down it goes. Now with that being taken out, I probably should have had the Flam Panzer come back and zoom up that road again. as I would have been able to destroy even more rifles. But here, all I'm going to do instead is just unload some Panzer Grenadiers and run towards them. So the idea of bringing this Jagdpanzer up here was actually to try and basically shoot from in between these trees to the right side, where I know that he has the Hellcat and the Abrams. Now there is quite a lot blocking the line of sight, like all of these houses and a few trees. But this is like allowing me to engage a maximum range. If I go to the neutral perspective, there's a Hellcat here, for example, and you've got the M4 Abrams here and another Hellcat further to the right. If I can get the Jagdpanzer into the right position, it gives me a perfect opportunity to engage these tanks, which is what I'm looking for. Right, meanwhile, we are seeing Noob still fighting away with RG Jesus. And he's not doing particularly well. You can just see how much ground was lost on this right side because he dropped the ball early on. It was just a big shame because I felt like if we had this land back here, like if we were fighting, I mean even here, we would be at a 51% right now and gaining points. But either way, can't just blame your teammates. Got to do as much of the work as you can yourself. I'm trying my very best here to get my Jagdpanzer into a decent position to start hitting enemy forces and maybe try and force a tank engagement. Panzergrens do go down to the mortar there. Moving over an SPW-232 to accompany the Jagdpanzer and make it a little bit more accurate. These Panzergrens on the left side are going to be forced to fall back due to the mortar. And there is a Hellcat getting in the way on this left side. I'm hoping that Captain Tank's Panzerschreck, though, can hit the mark. On this right side, Panzerwerfer kills off both of the mortars there, which was really nice. HS-129 of Noob comes in and takes out one of the Tetrarchs. And his Fallschirmjägers are holding quite strong on this right side, which was nice. But at the moment, we're still at a 50-50. Tempest does manage to shoot down the HS-129 as well. And this ME-109 isn't having a great time with that dogfight, with a second Tempest coming in. ME-109 just going to be flying on out of there. Over on the left side, I do move up my Flampanzer to try and get rid of these armoured rifles, but in the single moment that they aren't pinned down, they do manage to Zuka the Flampanzer, which was really, really annoying. So in general, we're doing okay. I don't mind supporting the whole map, but I was still frustrated about this right side. You can see I'm now bringing in a Jagdpanzer to support against Windy here, as he is now putting the pressure on Noob. That Jagdpanzer potentially the best thing that I have on my division to counter the Hellcats, and I'm just going to try and make the most of that. Mosquito Pathfinder was brought in to try and napalm my Panzerwerfers, but missed its shot. Panzerwerfer fires away and hits the airborne Bren group in the face as they try and advance onto the location where the Fallschirmjäger were. Fallschirmjäger slowly being whittled down. You can see just the massive infantry in comparison that well, Jesus has in comparison to Noob. So yeah, the Jagdpanzers arrived here. I'm trying to go with a little bit of micro over here as well. 251 trying to pin down the infantry whilst the Jagdpanzer tries and takes out some of these half-tracks. A little bit worried about the Stuart hitting me in the flank there, but just going to go for one more shot before retreating from that. This M5A1 could have definitely just whipped across and shot me in the side, but doesn't matter at the moment as they have smoked me off. Was maybe a little bit concerned that he might rush through with the Stuart after smoking it, but apparently not. Panzer guns here are going to get surrendered by some airborne Bren group, as in this division I do find that there is sometimes a serious lack of command units available. You are quite reliant on the 232s, and that can work out in some cases but not others. Typhoon AT is brought in, does manage to blow up my supply vehicle and also fire some rockets at these this Panzerwerfer, but the Panzerwerfer's very much alive for now. Noob's going to shoot down that Typhoon AT in reply and is going to be engaging the Tempests. But 2 versus 1, it's not going to be a very good time. And goodbye to the ME-109. Did manage to trade 1 for 1, which is okay. So, time to push on through again. Going to be trying to get that kill onto the Stuart. Stuart's going to bounce. Very likely that the Stuart would bounce, so that was nice. And with that Stuart dead, I have to be a little less concerned with what's going to kill my Jagdpanzer, and that allows me to provide some really nice fire support on this right side, or left side, sorry. So, Panzergrenz, Pioneers, they're all waiting to make a difference on this left side. Kind of just waiting for the support vehicles, enough of them to break through, that I can do the job here. M21 was left just a little bit close, and that allows my 232 to clean it up. Going to use the 232 to make these rifles surrender, and then obviously shoot back at these armoured LMG rifles. So a nice little breakthrough there, really helping us out. So currently 50-50. One of my Jagdpanzers does go down as it gets, I think, pretty much triple teamed by these Hellcats. Actually, it was just double teamed. The 2 Hellcats, they're winning out. I believe they got within 1,000 meter range, which technically gives them 15 AP. So their chance to penetrate was actually pretty low, but a bomber coming in here and forcing my Jagdpanzers to panic meant that they did just about get a side shot. That must have been what it was that actually caused the penetration. So unfortunate for me there, as I was hoping that 2 Jagdpanzers would be able to kill 2 Hellcats quite handily, but apparently not just yet. They are seriously lacking some veterancy. Either way, Panzerwerfer's still firing away onto the enemy infantry, keeping as much of this infantry pinned down as I can so they don't just push all the way through, because this right side was on the brink of collapse for like the entire game. And like I said before, it's quite simply just because Noob forgot to put any units in these buildings or in these buildings. If he had, we would have been fine. But because he didn't, it definitely left us in a bit of a predicament. ME-109 G6R6s are going to be engaging the enemy air force. One of the Tempests has already gone down. Focke-Wulf 190 on the back of the Mosquito Pathfinder is going to shoot it down, and with the Tempest trying to go for the kill onto the Focke-Wulf, Tempest goes down too. So the air engagement was actually quite nice between my teammates. The ME-109 is really doing the job there. Focke-Wulf 190 as well. Going to go for a quick engagement up here. Hellcat is going to hit the mark, and I do lose the Panzer 3L, which was, I guess, my best chance at killing a Hellcat. I was hoping I'd be able to get a cheeky kill there, but it doesn't work out. I do, however, manage to get the Panzer Grenadiers to take out a Hellcat with their Panzerfaust, so that was nice. But M41 has come round to kill off my 232. And also over here, Jagdpanzer died, I think, to a point-blank shot from another Hellcat. So double Hellcat with the M4A1 coming in and picking off the Jagdpanzer at close range. Now on Mont Ormel, it is a bit of an annoyance, this like close range fighting for the Jagdpanzers. But there, Ju-87 comes in, takes out the M4A1, so that's helpful. is going to be forced to fall back though. But yeah, the Jagdpanzers don't really work very well in this sort of environment. Especially like in this case, Hellcat comes up here, shoots the Jagdpanzer point blank in the face, and if the Jagdpanzer miss, it's basically dead. Also, it's very likely, I think the Hellcat has a faster aim time than the Jagdpanzer anyway. So yeah, it's not good. By the way, on this right side, Panzerwerfer's still firing away, still finding new targets. Brought in a new Opel Blitz munition, and you can see that I'm going to be fast moving my Panzerwerfers back to it. And since that Typhoon AT strike down here, I've just constantly been moving my Panzerwerfers after every strike. Jagdpanzer's just holding back at the moment. Don't really want to move that forwards and engage the Hellcats too much. I decided to try and get it as close to the edge of the range as possible, so they, if they do try and attack, I have sort of the initiative there. But I do have to be careful still. On this left side, bringing in another Ju-87. Decided that these would be really good actually for taking out the Hellcats and whatever else they threw at us when it comes to armor. So now I'm coming in to again hit the Hellcat, take out the Hellcat, slam the M4. Don't manage to get the kill onto the M4, but it falls back for now, and that relieves the pressure for Captain Tank. Panzer Grenadiers do manage to get the Panzerfaust onto one of the half tracks there, and what I'm going to do is try and get this Ju-87 to come over and pick off this Hellcat as well. So it has another couple goes, but doesn't get the shots on target. So another Ju-87 coming in, taking out one tank. And once they take out two tanks, they pay themselves off, so that's something to think about. Another ME-109 going down there though, as Cheeses has invested in some anti-air. Jagdpanzer having a cheeky engagement with this AT gun at 1,200 meter range. And Noob is going to be losing his Vulcan Fury here to an engagement with the M20 and the engineers. Also, I believe there was the Cromwell down there shooting up as well. So still 306 points to our opponents. I mean, this hasn't changed at all since the sort of beginning of the game where we dropped the ball on the right side. So we're just trying desperately, me and Captain Tank, to push through on the left and just hold on the right. I've literally just been trying to hold my best on this right side and assist Noob in not collapsing. Now, he was actually kind of being double teamed by like Windy and Cheeses on this right side, but even so, some of his infantry play was questionable. Again, that's not to say he's totally to blame. I feel like there were times where we probably could have pushed through, and maybe I could have been a bit more careful with this Jagdpanzer, for example. But at the end of the day, the lag was probably the most frustrating thing when I actually was playing the game. Ju-87 coming down there, bombing both of these tanks. Going to be helping to pin those down, which is nice. And since they are pinned down, time for the Ju-87 to come in and clean up the kills. I've also got a couple of Panzer Grenadiers on the way to secure us some more ground. So again, still just providing presence here. Don't really need to do anything with these half tracks or this Befehl Panzer III. Just gotta make sure that I prop up Noob here with the Pioneers and also the Panzer Grenadiers, and just constantly find decent targets for these Panzerwerfers. Now, I probably would have invested in more tanks throughout this game, like the Panthers, for example, if I was not playing in a lagged game as well, because it was really kind of irritating watching the whole map, as you can see, and basically finding things that I needed to do with infantry, for example, that I probably could have done with a Panther if I wasn't waiting for so long, because it felt like forever. Now here, unfortunately, these engineers, they do get off one of their satchel charges, and look at this. I mean, this Panzer Grenadier, they failed to kill the Hellcat there with a Panzerfaust, which was annoying. But there, that one engineer squad makes both of my Panzer Grenadiers get surrendered, because basically I was kind of relying on Captain Tank's Befehl Panzer IV here, but it wasn't close enough once I moved further into the tree line. It was rather frustrating. There was also the 232 there. That didn't get close enough either. I just saw that they did have quite a lot of command on this side, but I mean, again, probably my mistake for moving too far forwards. Panzerwerfer fires away, and I'm moving back up to the supply truck. That strike came in, down onto a couple of Cromwells, and the air landing there. And as you can see, the mass of forces here is like an absolute ton, and we literally have nothing. But just holding off at this tree line, it just shows you the power of terrain, really. Again, if we were here, this would have acted as a natural defense. But since we've had to play back to here, this is our natural defense now. And they play the risk of having to push around that. The Jagdpanzer has arrived on the right side. That's going to sit up on this hill, get line of sight into the field, hopefully, and start picking off some of these Cromwells. That's what I was looking to do. Jagdpanzer still holding in the mid. And we can see here Stug 3 going to be engaging the Hellcat. Flak filling, though, does help pin that down very quickly. Stug 3 is going to be looking for that shot. One shot from the artillery comes in and takes out that flak filling, which was incredible. And Captain Tank continues to push through on this left side. So great job by Captain Tank to keep the pressure on this left side and really break through there with my assistance, because that is now going to push us in to the +1. So it says minor victory in 9 minutes and 14 seconds for us, but just briefly they take it back to a 50-50, and this little bit of extra time, like the switch between the 51% and the 50%, was an absolute nightmare, because at this point in the game, if we sit at 9 minutes with a +1, we will have more points than them. But as you can see, it's just constantly switching back between 51 and 50. And that little bit of extra ground could have been made somewhere, I'm sure. But frustratingly, not going to be the case at the moment. Do manage to get a Hellcat kill there with one of my Ju-87s, adding another kill to the list. Panzerwerfer is going to be firing away again, this time into the forest, going to be trying to help pin down some of these engineers so that Noob can move forwards with his Fulcian Pioneers. And another thing I'm doing here actually is moving through my Jagdpanzer. Now I realised that since we moved into phase B and C, a lot of the infantry we're actually going to be coming up against, especially from the 4th Armoured, won't have bazookas. They might have cavalry scouts, and that's something they'll have to think about when moving forwards to Jagdpanzer, but I was pretty convinced that they didn't have any in this forest area, and if they did, it would have just been pinned down by my Panzerwerfer. So what I'm going to do here is actually fast move my Jagdpanzer through the forest road and try and take out the M4, again, to relieve the pressure onto Noob's infantry. So here we go. Managed to get the gun on target, and boom, goes the M4. Lovely shot. MU-109 coming in. Going to get the kill onto the P-38 Lightning there. And things starting to look in our favour again, especially with us breaking through more on the left side. I brought up another infantry squad there to assist. But as you can see, no more win for the Axis in 6 minutes. We're looking at a draw. And you can imagine my frustration as I realised that. Now we have to push for a +2 in order to win, when in theory we probably should have been at a +1 for like the entire game if we hadn't lost this initial ground on the right side. Jagdpanzer, however, this is still putting pressure into the middle of the map, taking out the M4 there. Does allow me to continue to peek forwards and start killing off some units on here as well. So that's like an M20 command going down there. And I'm going to continue to try and, I guess, peek round with that Jagdpanzer and attack the M18 Hellcats, because they are going to start hitting me with the M7 Priest. Now Jagdpanzer up here, this was getting hit very hard by a 17-pounder. They kept bouncing, but they did manage to detrack it, which kind of made it pretty useless, I guess. Can't turn if it's detract, because it's a self-propelled gun, but do manage to kill off the 17-pounder with the Panzerwerfer. So that was nice. 5 minutes left on the clock now. All we can really hope for is that we can push enough to find the +2. So I could have possibly pushed in the mid here, but if we look, the main issue for me is this AT gun and this Abrams. Without Abrams there, I could definitely probably overwhelm the M1 gun with my half tracks, and then the infantry would also be done for as well. But since Abrams was sat there the entire time, I just couldn't do anything, and it was really quite frustrating, especially considering 2 Ju-87Gs failed to hit their mark. But the AA net very strong now for Windy, especially with all of the 50 cals here as well. Like, not only does he have the MGMCs and the CGMCs, he also has the 50 cals from the WC-52 and Abrams himself. There's also the Hellcat there as well. Going to see this Stug 4 taken on by the M5 gun. And that is going to continue to bounce there as the Stug finally fires back, but the Stug 4 going to go down. And this is when you realise that you're not going to make that extra little bit of ground to get the +2. So I'm just going to go for some silly engagements, get the Jagdpanzer 4 to have a go at these Hellcats. See if he can really do the job there. Unfortunately, the no veterancy Hellcat manages to penetrate my 14 armour with about 26% chance penetration. Does the job. So I think it was like about 900 meter range when he hit. So he would have had, I think, 16 AP. Yes, it's about 26% chance to penetrate. Not only did he hit, but he also penetrated on his first shot, or second shot it probably was. Panther G comes in, however, gets his own back, and that Hellcat is, of course, forced to retreat. And not much they can really do against a Panther G on the field. So yeah, the Jagdpanzers, it was interesting. I think in a more open field battle, I definitely would have been able to exploit them using so many Hellcats. But at the end of the day, our opponents played really well, made it very hard to like push back after we conceded the ground on the right early on. And yeah, Windy and Jesus just did a fantastic job of just holding the line, whilst myself and Captain Tank just like pushed through on the left. And again, Magic Man didn't make that easy either. But towards the end of the game here, Magic Man's defense is definitely falling apart. You can see the severe lack of units on this left side, as my Magic Man is basically trying his best to reinforce. Like between Captain Tank and the edge of the map is just this M12 artillery gun, an M5 gun, and then obviously the reinforcements that have been brought in since. But if we had like a mobile force, we would have been able to crush all the way through there. Now this Jagdpanzer, even though it's had its tracks broken, finds a Cromwell in its sights and does manage to destroy it. Panther G is rolling up to assist as well. But with only 1 minute left on the clock, not too much more I can do. I can keep firing away with the Panzerwerfers and finding new targets. These Panzerwerfers have pretty much been alive for the entire game, firing away. I just want to get rid of Abrams, so I come in with 2 Ju-87s, and this is how you know that the flak wall is on point. Both planes get 1 try, and then, yeah, they miss. So the P-38 Lightning doesn't manage to shoot down my Ju-87s, so they have brought up a mobile wagon to actually protect any airstrikes that I bring in. Focke-Wulf 190G1 comes in with a bomb onto the reinforcements and really does hit the mark there quite nicely. So that was a really nice strike to help out. Gives the Pak 43 a quick chance to hit some of the reinforcements there directly. But losing a couple units here and there towards the end as we are continuing to push. Bombers coming in the form of Typhoons and Mosquitoes. And that's it. So after the solid 40 minutes, a draw is the outcome. And again, you can imagine my frustration, as not only was the game lagging the entire time, the game was basically decided in the first 5 minutes. Which is really annoying. That's not to take anything away from my opponents, who did an absolutely fantastic job of holding us back. And yeah, Windy supporting Jesus on that right side really gave Noob a hard time. But in the end, 3,278 kills to 1,980 losses isn't too much to complain about. If we jump over to the kills tab, Panzerwerfer did pick up 2 6-pounders and the 17-pounder there. Paid itself off, and this Panzerwerfer took out both the 3-inch mortars. Now in the end, these Panzerwerfers probably could have done a lot better, but I feel like I definitely needed the game not to be laggy in order to do that, because I would have liked to have more like sort of infantry kills on there. But some people doing really well, like these Panzer Grenadiers, for example. Took out the Stuart, took out M20 Command, took out 2 infantry squads, really nice. Jagdpanzer comes in, takes out M5A1 and one of the M18 Hellcats, that was good. This Ju-87 did get quite a few kills in the end, 2 M4A1s, an M4 105 and the M18 Hellcat. 232 paid itself off nicely as well. This Ju-87 only 1 Hellcat. This Jagdpanzer though, this was the one on the right side, got 3 Cromwells and a 6-pounder and an M5A1. And the Panther G at the end in the mid, 2 M18 Hellcats. So quite a spread of kills throughout the game, and my forces were most definitely spread throughout, so that kind of makes sense. But either way, that's where I'm going to have to leave it. Hopefully you guys enjoyed it. Thanks for watching, and I will see you in the next video. Goodbye.